Hi, my name is Natalie, and for my third critical thinking paper, we were supposed to find another famous person with a mental illness and diagnose them with the DSM-5, and and then talk about how, as Christians, what our response should be towards this mental illness. So for my disorder, my famous person with a disorder, I picked Lady Gaga. She has been suffering from PTSD since she was 19 years old, when she became a victim to rape. She shares a lot about her experience as well. My last famous person that I picked was Demi Lovato because she's so vocal about her struggles with mental illness. Lady Gaga has just come out of this mental illness closet in the past couple of years, and she's been very active in it as well. And so it was really convenient to be able to find things, and also really interesting because they're so vocal. There's not a lot to, be kept a secret. Anyway, so going into it, she experienced this traumatic experience of being raped at the age of 19. And since then, she's developed PTSD symptoms. And honestly, it was just getting worse while she was on tour for her Born This Way, tour, I guess. She tried to be vocal about her problems and her struggles and things that were triggering her, but people weren't really listening or ignoring them and not taking her seriously. And that, I think, could have added to her trauma that she had already previously experienced, and it's just additional trauma on top of that, which is obviously never good. And so it was really hard for me to read about that because it's just not handled right. But going into kind of her disorder and how she describes it and how it relates to the DSM-5, it talks about the symptoms for the DSM-5 for PTSD are things as in experiencing a traumatic stressor, and oftentimes that is military combat, or they actually say sexual violence, or like an emergency experience, like maybe like or close to death experience. And so for Lady Gaga, that was a sexually violent experience that she had, and that classifies in the DSM-5 as a symptom to or criteria for developing PTSD. PTSD is also developed they say that PTSD is classified if you have 1 to 2 of the symptoms, and I think that Lady Gaga classifies for 3 of the symptoms. These are symptoms experienced may be intrusive memory, avoidance of reminders of the event, negative thoughts or emotion, or hypervigilance and heightened arousal. And Lady Gaga says that she at times doesn't want to even leave her house out of fear of being triggered, and that kind of falls under the avoidance of reminders of the event for me, because she's so afraid of something in the world triggering her or something in the world reminding her of what happened when she was 19 years old, that she fears even leaving her house. The same as being affected, she gets triggered by when even fans like from excitement of seeing her, they touch her, because that's just gonna happen. She can be triggered by that as well, and that makes me think of the hypervigilance and heightened arousal towards the event. And she said because of this, she has developed on and off depression, and that kind of falls into the negative thoughts and emotions category for me. So I think that she can fall under 3 of the symptoms for the DSM-5's criteria of post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as the fact that she is a woman, and it is twice as prevalent in women than it is men. PTSD, is twice as prevalent in women, and So the fact that she's a woman just kind of falls into that category as well. And she is, I don't actually know how old she is. I think she's somewhere in her late 30s, I want to say, mid 30s. She's not that old, but if she experienced this when she was 19 years old, it's been at least 15 years since that event, and that's been a long time that she still struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, and that to me means that she might likely have these symptoms for most of her life, or if any, like all of her life, and that is pretty common. It says in the DSM-5 for people in the US to experience it their whole life. I think it was some like 20, maybe 40%, as well as the DSM-5 criteria for Lady Gaga's conditions. I think that she's just been a rock star with like trying to be vocal and voicing this mental illness to people, and the fact that it's not strictly those who have experienced military combat that get PTSD, that it can be caused by so many things as well, and just bringing awareness to that, and that she's just giving youth a voice to share their experiences and to know that they're not alone and that they are safe to just, I don't know, like maybe verbalize, maybe vocalize their issues and their struggles and what they've gone through, because I think that's something that she didn't feel like she could do after her experience happened when she was 19 years old. And I think that's something that Christians can do as well. That should be our response. Our response should be one of compassion, and I think social support is a big need around this disorder. I think that just being aware, bringing awareness, allowing people to find refuge in the church, I think is really important, because I think that's what the church was meant to do. And this is a disorder that definitely, it's high stress, it's high trauma, and they need to feel safe, they need to feel comfortable, and I want the church, and I want Christians to present that comfortability and that support for those who are suffering with this disorder, or those who are at extreme risk of this disorder. I was reading in the textbook, and it said that a lot of times PTSD can come from maltreatment from a family, from the family of the individual that develops post-traumatic stress disorder. And so I think that allowing that individual to have a safe place to go when they are being mistreated and potentially at risk to develop PTSD, that is really important for the church to do as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed researching this. I didn't know anything about PTSD beforehand. I mean, obviously before taking this class, but I was under the impression that it was strictly like, oh yeah, that's just military combat. People who come back from Vietnam or war or whatever, they have PTSD and that's basically it. But no, there's so many other things that are causing post-traumatic stress disorder, and we need to be very aware of them. And I think as a Christian, I feel very inspired to give them a voice and to provide support and stability that they might not be experiencing with this disease. So thank you.